All right, all right. Rep Z, how are you? Okay, so I'm only 100 and maybe 20 miles south of these fires, and this is devastating, absolutely devastating, as you guys know. Um, I've experienced some fires before, back in 2004. Um, Fires that we could see from our home on the mountains here in Southern California, miles away. Um, but this is just this is just absolutely devastating. So the winds have now shifted. They're now blowing, west to east, and that just puts a whole new set of people at risk. So we're following along, trying to follow along as best as we can. There's so many moving parts to this. Um, there were some incredible videos, one showing the actual beginning of the fire, of one of the fires here. There were a group of hikers running down from what looked just like a small patch of brush that was on fire on top of a hill. Let's see if I can find it. Um, things are being updated just so quickly here. Um, Maybe I have it bookmarked here. Yeah, this is it. This is a group of hikers.
Dude, it's catching up. Dude,
And you can
it's catching up.
so you can hear how windy that is.
Dude, it's catching up.
And that's the start of it. Um, just incredible how quickly this thing can spread. Rep Z, man, hope you're doing well. I don't think Minnesota has quite the wildfire problems that we do out here, but it has been a brutal winter for Southern California. In that, I think we've maybe had like 5 days of rain, maybe, um, which just makes this really tough. And I did listen to Gavin Newsom earlier today, who had a uh I mean, he's on point here. Let's listen to Gavin talk about where the state is.
Meet the press to announce a new executive order.
But this needs to be, yeah, here we go.
What is this executive order? What are you hoping to accomplish?
Look, we've got to be thinking 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years ahead. At the same time, we're focusing on the immediacy, which is life safety and property. And so that's exactly what we're doing with disaster assistance, making sure people are getting their applications, addressing the issue of fraud. And that's an issue we've got to address, price gouging. So executive orders on price gouging, recovery. We want to get inspections, units like this. We want to get our inspection teams out here. They're already starting to get out here. We've come up with some timelines so we can get within the next few weeks all that done so people can get their insurance claims. We can then start the big contracts to remove the debris, to address all the hazmat issues. Same time as I got to button up the canyons here as it relates to potential flooding of a lot of atmospheric rivers. Remember, we're in the middle of winter. This is January. In fact, the day of this fire, not a stone's throw away, as the crow flies, there was snow right up the mountain here, the same day as this devastating fire here in Altadena. And so all those things have to happen concurrently. But here's the big thing. I'm worried about issues of rebuilding as it relates to scarcity, as it relates to property taxes, meaning scarcity of resources, materials, personnel. I'm worried about time to getting these projects done. And so we want to fast track by eliminating any CEQA requirements. I got Coastal Act changes that we're making. I want to make sure when someone rebuilds that they have their old property tax assessments and that they're not increased. So all of that's been done in the executive order we just announced.
CEQA, Governor, and the Coastal Act are both environmental regulations. And if you're going to be suspending those temporarily, are you concerned about problems that may result from the suspension of those environmental regulations and a potential abuse by developers?
Yeah, we're not going to, and within this executive order, we frame those abuses. We basically bookmark that in the context of maintaining the existing footprints. On the Coastal Act, they allowed just a 10% variant, so we're going to be very mindful of that. California leads the nation in environmental stewardship. I'm not going to give that up, but one thing I won't give into is delay. Delay is denial for people. Lives, traditions, places, torn apart, torn asunder, families, schools, community centers, churches, you've seen it. The number of schools that have been lost in this community, and we've got to let people know we have their back, we're going to be back, we're going to do it efficiently and effectively. Don't turn your back, don't walk away, because we want you to come back, rebuild, and rebuild with higher quality building standards, more modern standards, and we want to make sure that the associated costs with that are not disproportionate, especially in a middle-class community like this.
Yeah, okay, there's so much to break down there. Yeah, so I mean, I'm just looking at this politically. Like, there's a reason why Donald Trump is coming for Gavin Newsom. Radio 1909, welcome. I've never been rated on Twitch before, so that's cool. So let's talk about Gavin here and just how in command he sounds. Someone who is leading and doing it in I'm hearing noises, sorry. Doing it in a way that that I think inspires. Being in full command of all of the moving parts like I talked about here. And that's why Donald Trump is coming for Gavin Newsom. That's why he wants to try to attack him on this. And that's because Gavin Newsom is potentially the next, could be president of the United States. Who knows? But that's where we are with Trump here. He is literally just in attack mode when there are hundreds of thousands of people who have had their lives devastated. He could care less. Also, Gavin Newsom talking about the scarcity of resources there. Not only, material resources, but also labor. Looking back on the past few days of fighting this fire, we've relied heavily on firefighters from Canada and their equipment and machinery. If you guys know anything about Southern California, the immigrant labor here is a massive part of our economy. And so you're going to see, and it's my prediction that, Donald Trump, when he gets into office, is going to throw all sorts of wrenches into the immigration process so that it makes it harder for people to rebuild. And then he will essentially just turn the blame on Gavin Newsom and just be terrible for the people of Los Angeles. So, politically wise, it's not so much. I've heard people talking about how Donald Trump hates California. I don't think it's that. I think it's Donald Trump knows that Gavin Newsom could potentially be the leader of the Democratic Party, and he's just taking shots at him, to hell with the context, to hell with the fact that one of America's best and most beautiful cities is burning to the ground. And this guy actually had the world Trump lives in.
It. Now, the first thing to understand about Mr. Trump is that he does inhabit a completely different mental world, and he inhabits it naturally, and he inhabits it very gracefully. He lives in a world of fiction. Mr. Trump is not a traditional person who has made a career where he's had to deal with life around him. He's never actually been that successful in grappling with any particular element of reality. Where he has been successful is as a character on television. He's never been a successful businessman, but he has played a successful businessman on television. He understands not the rules of reality, but the rules of fiction. So for him, there's no such thing as lying, because there's no such thing as the truth. We're all just in this story together. So the ways in which he's able to bring us into the world are, first of all, just by saying all the time things that aren't true. A typical politician will lie now and then, but a typical politician will also recognize the principle that there is truth, and so when caught in a lie, might apologize. In Mr. Trump's case, that never happens, because he very specifically and intentionally wants to fill up the whole space with untruth, to fill up everything with untruth so that we're confused. The second stage is, once we get there, once he changes the office of the presidency so that it's no longer about talking about the world, but instead about creating a story, then he says, distrust everyone else. There's nothing that's really true. It's just my opinion and your opinion. And since I'm the president and I have media behind me, in the end of the day, it's going to be my opinion that matters. Once we get to that point where everybody doubts everything and it's only the person who has the most media or the biggest Twitter account who counts, at that point, it's very hard to have anything like a democracy.
Right. Yeah. And so what's really interesting about this is, like,
The first thing to
Trump calls his social media platform Truth Social, which is just a complete joke. I I think it's funny that it's not funny. I mean, I think it's it's interesting that he brought up that, with the way Trump behaves, that there can be no democracy, the end of democracy. And he's essentially hinting that, like, in 2028, he's going to come up with some reason to not have an election, some reason for him to say, hey, I can run again. I the rules be damned, just like they always have been, because, again, with Trump, there's no such thing as lying, right? He is steeped in fiction. One of the fiction, right? One of the things of fiction that he
Meet the Press to
has
announce a new
been spreading the misinformation is that, again, going back to the fires and Gavin Newsom, and that California is just being run by incompetent leadership. Let's see if we can. So Elon picked up on this, okay? And this is a fantastic video of Elon Musk just being the complete and utter useless moron that he is, the sociopath that he is. Elon picked up on Donald Trump's whole there wasn't enough water pressure in the fire hydrants because of Gavin Newsom and the LA mayor Karen Bass, and just complete and utter nonsense. Not the fact that there were 100-mile-per-hour winds essentially creating a hurricane of fire in a day's notice, in hours' notice, in Southern California. And so Elon actually showed up to try to confront a member of the fire team in LA, and ended up, this is during a live stream, and ended up looking like the complete fool that he is. Let's watch Elon try to get to the bottom of the fire hydrant pressure.
So, all right. What about water availability? Was water availability? I understand that was, like, not an issue in Malibu. Is that correct?
Was it water?
Yeah.
So there was water. We have several reservoirs that encinos that we use a lot. Now, just an example, if we have one building burning,
Mhm.
we could flow 1,000 gallons a minute on that one building with the hose legs that we put in
Yeah.
to stop it. you can imagine 1,000 gallons per house we couldn't do, right? So the
Yeah.
amount of water we're flowing, there really is no water system that's going to keep that pace. So we have to bring in water tenders, which are these big tank water tanks that 2,500, 3,000 gallon
Yeah.
trucks, and they'll come in. And that's what we have to do to overcome to compensate. So they park out there, do it. DWT did a great job. They brought in big water
Okay.
trucks for us,
All right.
and we use them as basically mobile hydrants,
All right.
right? And then we have our own agency as well that has water tenders.
Okay. My understanding is that like along the maybe correct me if I'm wrong. In Malibu along the coast there was no shortage of water. In the Palisades there was a shortage of water at a certain point. Or is that not accurate?
Well, we were flowing just an amount of water that the system couldn't overbear. That we're just
Okay.
overbearing, just because of how much water these firefighters were utilizing.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Thanks, guys.
How awkward. How awkward. And of course he's spreading all this misinformation on X, the platform this guy loves to pretend like is the new, the place for the truth to shine. And he just looks like a complete jackass. Oh, okay. So everything I've been told has been complete and utter bullshit. Oh, okay. Well, I'm just the richest guy in the world, with hundreds of of people who listen to me. But okay, sounds good. Huh. I mean, what a tool! What a tool! And you could almost tell that the firefighter was like, uh, what, dude? Like, you're here. This is briefing with the fire command team for the Palisades fire. He's in L.A. He's seen the damage. I'm surprised if Elon hasn't flown over it. He's seen everything. He's seen how devastating this was. And for him to just be like, "Oh well, I heard." Is that what he said? Oh, it was my understanding. Yeah, what's your understanding though, Elon? It's funny how you claim to have an understanding of how all this went down, except you didn't talk to the people who were responsible for it. You and Trump and all of your little billionaire boys just came up with bullshit. Just came up with bullshit to try to slam Gavin Newsom because Gavin is better looking. He's smarter than all these fools. Oh man, you could look at his stupid little coat there, his little wool coat, like he's some badass. I mean, the guy just tries so fucking hard, and he's such a complete boob. Um, Oh, and as if there's some conspiracy theory, right? In Malibu, it was my understanding that there was no shortage, but in the Palisades, there was a shortage. As if like Gavin Newsom and the Democratic leadership of California were like, oh man, it's finally time to let those millionaires burn. I mean, it's what's crazy about this is like the Republican Party, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, all these senators, all these congressmen, all these like right wing talking point people, right wing bubble people, media people. It's always about the immigrant and the Democrats who are they're the ones responsible for tearing apart this nation. And then you go and you like he says it right there. He like admits it. He's like, oh, like they're coming after the rich people. Like he doesn't. They don't care about the people who suffered those in like the devastating floods last year, right? They don't care about that. They care that they can look at Gavin Newsom as an enemy, at Democrats as an enemy. And he doesn't really mean to do it from time to time, but he just flat out just says, hey man, so the Palisades, which is the more affluent place, right? That's where you have like your $1 million homes, your tens of millions of dollar homes. There's some conspiracy theory to burn it all down. Yeah. They wanted to burn it all down. See, they're coming after us, the rich people. That's who he cares about. That's what this is really all about. It's the people with money that Elon cares about. Doesn't care about anybody else. And this is just one of those moments where it's like, Elon, dude, if this fire captain is looking at you going, hey man, oh my God, like you're the richest guy in the world, bro. How do you not understand that we were completely overwhelmed? You're sending rockets into space, and yet you can't understand the basic concept of Los Angeles firefighters being overwhelmed by like incredibly strong winds and fires. Like what world are you in, Elon? What world are you in? Oh,
So,
that's right. That's right. You're in your
all
own
right,
little world.
what about water availability? Was water availability? I understand that was
Okay.
like not an issue.
I can't hear this guy's voice anymore. But that's what it is. I mean, the guy's basically just like, he just wants to talk about the rich people. He'll tell all these ignorant, uninformed voters how, you know, it's all these Democrats and immigrants who are coming for you. But really deep down inside, it's not that at all. He just wants to protect the rich, protect his own riches. Yeah. And now we're having members of Congress talk about how there's going to be strings attached to these to federal relief. So I mean, the Biden team just must be working day and night to try to get this as much as they can done, when they're also working on the transition. I mean, this is another thing. They're working on the transition to Trump's team. They're working on the transition to Trump's team, and it's clear as day that the Trump team didn't want anything to do with the first transition, right, from Obama to Trump, or from uh, Trump to Biden. There's been reports on both of those cases that like the administration officials either didn't take documents or didn't give documents when they were going in and out. And so now, you've got completely incompetent people who are going to be taking this over. And so add that, add up the incompetency and the fact that they hate Southern California and they hate California leadership. Let's listen to this guy talk about how now there are going to be strings attached to federal aid, which is just going to be another nightmare. And I mean, like, we've heard it over the past 4 years with Biden. Man, anything happened, it was always, hey, look, man, I don't care who you voted for. I don't care. Like, I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on. I don't care which way you lean politically. We're all Americans. We're all going to work hard. We're all going to get through this. And Trump and Republicans' response to this is, well, you'll get through it if you bend the knee.
$50 billion, the number that you would expect to have to send to California?
Well, look, we just did a passage of $100 billion in aid here. Let's not forget the other side of this equation. There's $36 trillion in debt that every American is paying $100,000 into. We can't just keep running up the government credit card here. And one of the things that I'll push back on is we've got to be able to grow our economy. We do that with tax cuts, but we also have to spend responsibly here. And so just like aid to California, we will certainly help those thousands of homes and families who have been devastated, but we also expect you to change bad behavior. We should look at the same for these blue states who have run away with a broken tax policy. We want to be able to help out our colleagues in New York, California, New Jersey, but we also want those governors need to change their tune now.
All right, we will leave it there. Congressman.
Look how happy he is. I did that, but you kind of look like a
It's great
pig,
to have you
dude.
this morning. Thank
Yeah, you look like a fucking pig, man. You look like a pig. Who is that? Zach Nunn. Where's he from? Damn, I'm still working on getting my my live streaming set up because I want to live stream. I'm getting kind of tired of like editing all these videos and doing all this bullshit. And Zach Nunn serving Iowa, dude. Zach Nunn? You want to talk about tax code, homie? How much does Iowa get from California and those blue states who've got that horrendous, horrible tax code? Dude, we pay your debt. None. Again, he's just clueless, just living in just this like, just this world of like, it's completely delusional. It's just one big lie, and Botaromo just like just feeds it down these business watchers. Oh man, Fox Business. What a complete and utter joke. Yeah, change your behavior. We'll give you money if you change your behavior. Okay. Okay, Zach Nunn. You just wait until something happens in Iowa. Whether it's, I don't know, what happens in Iowa, man? Like a deep freeze? What disasters happen in Iowa? I mean, like there could be floods, right? I mean, Iowa's pretty flat. So it's just that is incredibly frustrating to watch somebody from a place like Iowa where there ain't a lot going on try to tell us, Southern California, which is in a whole other category of economies. Our economy is like California's economy is literally the fifth biggest economy in the world. And this clown, this pig face looking clown, wants to tell us about our broken tax policy. Yeah, you can eat shit, as far as I'm concerned, Zach Nunn. But he wasn't alone, right? There are other guys. This is a senator. This old Senator Barrasso. This guy. How long has Senator Barrasso been in the Senate for? Oh my gosh. Third term, so he's going on what? Assumed office in 2007. Yup. Approaching 2 years away from 20 years in the Senate. Let's hear what this clown has to say about these wildfires.
Can't happen again, and the policies of the liberal administration out there, I believe, have made these fires worse.
Do you expect, though, that Congress and Republicans will still help these Americans in need, even if they don't like their local politics and the party?
I expect that there will be strings attached to money that is ultimately approved, and it has to do with being ready the next time, because this was a gross failure this time.
Senator,
can't happen again in the...
This guy's from Wyoming. You want to talk about fucking clueless? You want to talk about clueless Senator Barrasso talking about how the liberal policies, which have been pushing climate initiatives and alternative fuel sources to the forefront. Yeah, we're the ones who fucked it up, Barrasso. Right. It wasn't you guys shilling for oil companies. No, it wasn't Trump telling the oil companies that, hey, $1 billion here, $1 billion there will get you access to me and lighten the regulations. No, it wasn't that, right? No. It's the liberal policies. You want to be specific? You want to tell us any policy that you're talking about? Nope. Of course you don't. And fucking face the nation. What is this woman doing? Oh yeah, so okay. Yeah, so they're mad about the policy. So tell me more about that. What planet are we on? Like, this is how you get Trump. This is how you get ridiculous leaders, is when respectable news shows just sit there and just spoon feed the bullshit to again, I mean, I would say that, like, probably a lot of people who watch Face the Nation, you would think that they're informed voters, but they ain't. And she's spoon feeding them this. Oh, okay. Senator Barrasso from Wyoming, you want to tell us about LA's economy and the liberal policies. Well done, Face the Nation. Well done. Whew. Yvette, yeah, exactly. The liberal policies, right? California's tax dollars, blue state tax dollars, go to the red states. And they have the audacity to sit there and tell us, "Oh, we're not paying. Wyoming's not paying for this." Shut the fuck up. Nobody needs Wyoming tax dollars. You don't contribute very much at all. Shut the fuck up. So much. I have so many great videos bookmarked. Okay, let's try to stay on topic of this guy's kind of breaking down what I was saying earlier about how, the Elon Musks, the Donald Trumps, they, use immigrants to divide us and so that they can quench their thirst for power. Let's give this guy a listen.
Aren't you sick of those immigrants coming in and making you fearful? Aren't you sick of those people, those leftists and socialists and woke people, changing our culture and transforming what used to be ours and taking it? Wouldn't you like to get that back? And you get them to forget the fact that they are being exploited, that they are voting for policies and politicians that will continue to serve the ultra rich by getting them to kind of think in terms of culture, right? As a conservative, you are constantly and forever representing the elite, and mostly the economic elite, those who have the power and the economic power, the class power. But in the United States, you find yourself in this difficult situation where you also must get votes. And you actually must appeal to enough of the population to where they will actually be willing to vote for you. Well, that creates a conservative dilemma. How do you get past that situation where you want to protect the prestige and control of the elites and people who have always controlled power, but you also have to generate enough populist support to get enough votes, a majority? They must get white working class individuals to constantly vote against their own economic interests, and they do that by stoking cultural outrage and fear. And so Christian nationalist rhetoric and Christian nationalist ideology is really an example, I think an example of how elites and upper class individuals are able to constantly distract white evangelicals and other white working class Americans with the narrative that the culture is being taken, that we're oppressed, that we're being persecuted, that we're losing America as we know it or our way of life, and we're losing control. And so it is something that becomes extremely motivating when politicians who are savvy in communication are able to kind of use and leverage that rhetoric to stoke that fear. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So isn't it funny how you've got like the Christians who are, when devastation happens to them, oh man, it's God will take care of us, and and it was probably Joe Biden's climate machine, right? And the liberal climate, man-made hurricanes that hit us. But then as soon as the fires hit Southern California, where there's the abomination of Hollywood, oh, they deserved it. They deserved it. How Christian of them. Ah, isn't it funny how this all just kind of, your true colors are revealed in times of crisis. And that guy also, it kind of goes back to what he was saying about how the Republican Party is built to protect the rich and the corporate elite. That is what I was talking about with Elon and his confrontation with that firefighter, saying, "Oh, well, there was a water shortage of the Palisades. Oh, those millionaires. Oh, they didn't get the water. Why? Where's the conspiracy? It's my understanding there's a conspiracy." And that firefighter is like, "Dude, you fucking idiot, man. You're so stupid. You're so dumb. And you're so weird." You could just tell, like, because that firefighter, right? He's just like, "Yo, man, no nonsense, right? I'm gonna explain to you what's happening." And Elon shows up, probably wearing those stupid aviators, right? That he wears with his stupid little coat. I just can't get over his stupid little coat with the fur. Oh God, he's like, I'm a badass. I'm a badass. I'm not that bald, gumpy looking guy that I was 15 years ago. Oof. Oof. Elon. I mean, look, man, he's got it so bad. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people out there who are like, man, dude, Elon, he can just do whatever he wants. He's got all this money. He's got the cars, the houses. But Elon's life must just suck, man, because he knows that like the dumbest people are the people uh, who like support him and who buy into his bullshit. Because when he hears people discussing him, people who aren't people like Elon, when he hears kind of the liberal consensus talking about him, and it's all just kind of like, oh man, you're weird. He just drains inside. He's just and he goes back to the days where he's like in those interviews where he's like, have you seen him like Elon Musk's first car or whatever it is? Like, look at this clown. Let's see. He may have scrubbed it from. Let's see. Yeah, oh, he's scrubbing a lot of this stuff, man. After the hair plugs and the Elon Musk PayPal interview. Let's see. Dude, that's who Elon is, man. That's Elon Musk. That's why he wears like these stupid coats and these glasses, because he's just like, I like rockets. Oh, his wives, his families have fallen apart, right? His life sucks. His life sucks, and so that's why he's just out for revenge, because this is who Elon is, and the world rejected him, and yeah, he like got into PayPal, whatever. He made money, but like this dude has been rejected by people his entire life. So yeah, so now he's just out for revenge. He's got the hair plugs. I mean, you can see it right there. Yeah. Ta-ba! Yeah.
In retrospect,
You're not real, bro. You're not real, dude. He's this delusional Rep Z, man. I think he's truly delusional. 100%, man. 100%. Truly delusional. Okay, let's see what. Here we go. And they're back at it. This is Senator Tuberville. Now he's saying that there should be strings attached. This is just breaking from A.T. Rupert's Twitter account. If you guys don't follow him, be sure to follow him over on Twitter. I'm on Twitter too, unfortunately, at Brendan Plank, if you guys want to shoot me a follow as well. Let's listen to Tuberville and his take on why his state. Where's Tuberville from? Is he from? Is he from Louisiana? Alabama. Woo-wee. All right. Again. So we've got Iowa, Alabama, and Wyoming trying to tell California how we're all messed up. Okay, let's hear it.
Why should other states be bailing out California for choosing the wrong people to run their state?
I'm pretty sure Newsmax is based here in San Diego. So this clown on the left here, should they bail us out? Dude, San Diego is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. One of the best, cleanest, safest cities on the planet. I've lived here my entire life, nearly. Like, the audacity for these clowns to spread this bullshit is insane.
Shouldn't be. They got 40 million people in that state, and they voting these these imbeciles in office.
Imbeciles.
And they continue to do it. And it's just a very small part of them in that state that's doing it. If you go to California, you run into a lot of Republicans, a lot of good people, and I hate it for them. But they are just overwhelmed by these inner city woke policies.
Black people. Let's remember what that is code for.
With the people that vote for them, and I don't mind sending them some money, but unless they show that they're going to change their ways and get back to building dams and storing water, doing the maintenance with the brush and the trees and everything that everybody else does in the country, and they refuse to do it, they don't deserve anything, to be honest with you, unless they show us they're going to make some changes, Chris.
Why should other states be bailing out California
tough talk.
for choosing?
Oh, you're such a badass, Tuberville, man. Whoo-wee. They're doing their damnedest to try to tear us apart, right? They're doing their damnedest, but we all know that these cowards have nothing behind this, except for the scary thing, though, is that, like I said, when Trump gets in, he's going to throw wrenches into this, whether that's federal aid. Actually, who is gonna? Let's see. Where does FEMA fall under in the federal government? Are they their own FEMA cabinet official? What would it be? Office and leadership. The office administrator contains programs that directly support the administrator and deputy administrator in the performance of their duties. FEMA's mission. Contact us. Department of Homeland Security. Department of Homeland Security. So is that going to be? Is that Hedgeset? Oh, fuck! It's Kristi Noem. Oh, God damn it! This is Department of Defense's Hedgeset. Who am I kidding? Kristi Noem is gonna be the one to oversee all this bullshit. Oh my God. Oh my God. God. Oh my God. So America, if you're in a blue state, something happens, you are fucked. You're fucked, man. Kristi Noem, the dog killer. You think she's gonna say, hey, Mr. Trump, these are still Americans. We need to help them as best and as efficiently as we can. Oh man. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's Kristi fucking Noem. Oh my God. Oh, how is no one talking about this? I haven't heard anyone talk about this. Have you guys heard someone talk about how, hey man, FEMA's gonna be Kristi Noem? She's gonna be the one doing these wildfire relief? The compassionate puppy killer in charge. Exactly, Rep. Has she even said anything about these fires? Let's see if Kristi Noem has said anything about these fucking fires. Okay, so she's retweeting how she's gonna be an ass kicker. This is her retweet, because this stooge went on.
This about the capacity of the nominees. The next Secretary of Homeland Security is going to be Kristi Noem. That's my governor. And the idea that she's not qualified to get this done is totally without evidentiary basis. I have seen her in moments of terrible tragedy be there for people 24 hours a day, holding them as they cry, helping them gather their things after a tornado. She is going to be a total ass kicker. And this country will deliver in disasters under Donald Trump because of Kristi Noem.
Right, yeah. She held these people, right? Because they voted for her. She doesn't give a damn about California Democrats. Oh. And I got to be honest, man, we don't really need an ass kicker. So it's really weird how this guy goes from she held people and consoled them, and she's gonna kick ass. Like, wait a minute, whoa, buddy, what the hell are you talking about? But that's her latest. That's her. Okay, so she reposted that on the 8th. It looks like nothing about these wildfires. Nothing. No? You've got 500,000 followers. You don't want to say anything about the wildfires, what you're going to do, how you're going to, handle the transition. Because you need to be glued to the phone, to you should probably be in LA. Right? I mean, am I being too hard on her here? Or is this as just completely just insane as I think it is? Why hasn't she said anything? Okay, this is her Twitter page. Let's see if Christine Holmes has she. President Biden is going to be he's going to be addressing the country in I think like a half an hour. So that just came to my mind because I've got C-SPAN up here. Man, Christine, no, good God. The International Association of Firefighters has backed Kristi Noem for DHS. Okay, we'll see how that one works out. We'll see how that one works out. That's kind of like the police unions backing Donald Trump. Like, oh my God, man! Like, you guys are so stupid. And of course, the only two news organizations talking about Kristi Noem are News Nation and Fox News, who it's just, oh, Kristi Noem understands what it means. Powerful fire union that was neutral in 2024 backs Noem. Man. Oh, guys. Oh, boy. But we'll see. We'll see how that plays. We'll see how that plays when, you've got all these like Republican millionaires who have voted for Trump and Noem is just squashing their FEMA aid. But I guess maybe that's the thing. Maybe they know that these millionaires, they don't need the FEMA aid. They can probably rebuild. They've probably made a shit ton of money under Biden's economy. And even, money when Trump cut their taxes and plans to do it again. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, let's switch subjects here to Ukraine. Because again, there is a disaster that Donald Trump is incredibly unequipped to handle. Do you remember throughout his campaign, it was, I'm gonna solve this even before I get into the White House. It'll be done the first day. Here, let's see. Let's see here. Here it is.
24 hours. And if I win,
this is Trump on Ukraine.
That within 24 hours. And if I win, before I get into the office, I will have that war settled. 100% sure.
Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have the
horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled, and we'll do it quickly. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled, and it will settle with Ukraine and Russia. I will get them to settle that war very quickly, even before I become president, as a president-elect. Ukraine and Russia, and the stupidity with I will get that negotiated and ended before I ever take office. I'll do it after the election as president-elect. I would get a settlement in 24 hours, and even now I could solve that in 24 hours. I would fix that within 24 hours, and if I win, before I get into the office, I will have that war settled. 100% sure. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have...
Okay. All right. All right. So that was throughout the campaign, right? It's, hey man, Donald's gonna, he's the great bringer of peace, right? Even before he gets into the White House, he says. Okay, now let's listen to his special envoy to Ukraine talk about when that peace is coming.
And then he'll eventually get to a position where he'll be talking to President Putin and also President Zelensky as well. And I think they're going to come to a solvable solution in the near term. And when I say by the near term, you know, I would like to set a goal on a personal level and professional level. I would say let's set it at 100 days and move our way back and figure a way we can do this in the near term to make sure that this solution is solid, it's sustainable, and that this war ends and so that we stop the carnage. And I think that's going to be very, very important to do. It's going to be important for our national security. It's a part of our vital national interest, and it's also good for Europe as well, and the globe as well.
All right, General.
Oh, I mean, he's talking about the good of Europe at the end there. Oh, let's see if that guy even makes it to Inauguration Day. What, we're like a few days out. I wonder if Trump watched this and he's like, God, tell him. Just throws his plate of Wendy's and McDonald's at the wall. 100 days. Do you notice how the war between Russia and Ukraine, the war between these two, which, you know, who was really at fault here, right? Again, going back to the guy we listened to earlier, Trump doesn't live in a world where there is a truth. He lives in a world where it's your word versus mine, right? Because again, you know what I think this is? I think this goes back to him being a kid and him being just this moron who bullied everybody. And then he would get in trouble for it and he'd go, that didn't happen. And they'd go, holy shit. Like, dude, the kid's bleeding. You hit him in the face. You've got bruises across your knuckles. You've got cuts across your knuckles. And Trump says, no, that didn't happen. I fell down. That's what I say. That's my truth. You know, it is what it is. And everybody's like, no, man, no. There is a truth. See, Trump doesn't have a truth. There is no truth in Trump's world. It's always whatever will make him look okay or whatever will protect him. He learned this as like a kid, and he's behaved this way ever since. So of course it's just the war between Russia and Ukraine, and not the horrendous invasion of a sovereign nation by an evil dictator, Vladimir Putin. Trump says he'll get it done on day one. He's going to lower the grocery prices. He's going to do everything. He promised everyone everything. And now it's, well, you know, I'm pretty sure he used the term, what did he say? I'm going to give it
President Putin and also President Zelensky as well. And I think they're going to come to a solvable solution in the near term. And when I say by the near term, you know, I would like to set a goal on a personal level and professional level.
On a professional level. On a professional level, I would like to set a goal of 100 days. Trump says, I'm going to get it done before I even come into office, because Trump is no professional. He is a fucking idiot. I mean, just a complete and utter idiot voted for by idiots. Ah, there was a guy, I was at a big uh, store in like a big bulk store here in San Diego, and there was a guy, San Diego is it's conservative, but it's still in California, right? So our conservatives they're not as parts of the country are parts of our city are kind of um, a little more of the kind of uh, just batshit crazy conservatives. Um, but here, there's a lot of like families and uh, a lot of military and a lot of tech and biosciences here. So there's a lot of like liberal people here. And like when I brought up the military because like people like to think that the military swings towards Republicans, but like the military is one of those places where it's all about being a cohesive unit and understanding that there are different facets and different people working together for one objective, and that's the protection of our country, right? So we've got this guy walking around in a big grocery store here with the mega cap on, and I'm walking behind him. I just went down one of these aisles, and he goes up to a woman who's got some bagels in her cart, and he says, "Oh, you didn't see it, but you can actually get two for the price of that one. So go back and get a different flavor so that you can have a variety." And I felt like telling this guy, man, like, A, shut the fuck up, leave her alone. And B, like, it's so curious how you want to help her pick her bagels, but you want to take her reproductive rights. Heyo. I kind of wanted to just like get a single package of bagels and walk around him in my cart to see if he would like try to talk to me. Because I think these, going back to like Elon Musk and just how creepy that dude looked and how he's probably been rejected by women his entire life. Kind of the same thing with like the dudes like Andrew Tate, where they're just disgusting creatures and women have rejected them and they get like very emotional because of it. Um, I wanted him to try to tell me, about the bagels. And then I would return with a, dude, like, how dare you? How dare you wear that stupid fucking hat in this area? Where there's like Hispanic families like with their kids, their abuelas who like could or could not be, like legal. There could be like all sorts of like shit like that. It's such a like confrontational thing to do. And this guy, it was curious how he wanted to help so badly. And it was the one woman who he wanted to help. Uh, it's just weird. These people, man, I'm telling you, these people, they've got some, they're fucked up. They're fucked up in a lot of ways. But going back to, I digress. Okay, going back to like Ukraine and Russia. Um, Donald Trump completely just lied to the American people there, which on a foreign policy level makes me just question, uh, like, how the hell is he gonna, what is he gonna get us into if everything is just a complete bogus lie? If his foreign policy advisor, I mean, you can just tell looking at this guy's face. I mean, this guy's scared. He's scared. He's not confident. He knows. He knows that Trump is in bed with Putin. And he knows that he is in between a rock and a hard place. Like, how is this guy gonna bring the war to an end in 100 days when Putin doesn't want to let the war go? He wants to take all of Ukraine, and Trump is probably gonna let him do it. You have the right-wing circles talking about how, hey, we're probably not gonna get parts of what is it, the Donbass region back, right? And Crimea. We're probably not gonna get those regions back because, Russia took it. So So you think Donald Trump is going to bring this war to an end? Hell no. He's going to do everything he can to just turn his back away and rant and rave about wildfires and fire hydrants and immigrants and everything else. He's just going to heap distractions. We're taking over Greenland. We're taking over Canada. We're taking over Panama. Wait a minute, dude. Wait a minute, man. How about you deal with one dictator at a time? No, because Trump wants to be a dictator. He wants to be the corrupt dictator who works for enriching himself, enriching his friends, and making sure Putin doesn't. Who knows what Putin can do with the power that he has to Donald Trump? Or if Trump just likes that he's just, he and Putin, one of the most powerful people on the planet, that they're friends.
I mean, it's almost impossible to avoid him, and he has enormous power because of his money, and B, his reach to people who have been persuaded over the last 5 years or so that the mainstream media hasn't covered any stories, and that the only people who've noticed anything happening in the world are people sitting in their bedrooms sending messages to each other. It's an amazing feat of deception. And I think we should have got onto him early on when he quite gratuitously called someone who was trying to help those boys in Thailand a paedophile. An American court let him off, the pedo guy. I think he thought from then on, I can say anything I like. It doesn't have to be true. It's better if it's not true, and no one will stop me. And that's what's happened.
We've seen lots and lots of powerful media figures over the decades and centuries, probably the Rothermeres and the Murdochs and so forth. But we have never had somebody like this who is tweeting, speaking in his own name several times a day, many times a night.
No, I mean, and it's not merely that he's a sort of a classic social media adolescent who hasn't grown up. I mean, the temper tantrums, the lack of responsibility. Yeah, I mean, the whole business.
Okay, sorry. I know we're bouncing all over the place, but now they're talking about Elon Musk. We were talking about Trump and his bullshit with Ukraine. Now we're back to Elon Musk. And then we're going to jump into President Biden and his talk on foreign policy.
This was set up by a group of ungrown-up men who are now running companies in their own image. And to see them now sucking up to Trump when they were quite happy not to suck up to him before, purely on the grounds that this is to their commercial advantage. They have no morality at all. Literally none.
And if we were having this conversation 48 hours ago, we would have said, well, in the end, it's only one organisation, it's only one part of social media, it's only X. But since then, Zuckerberg, who has Facebook and Instagram and Threads, has come and done exactly the same thing, saying he is going to mimic Musk, in effect.
Yes, and I mean the idea that you have this vastly powerful organisation, and about 5 minutes ago it was very important for you to have moderators and fact checkers, and now because you want to suck up to Trump, you don't, is appalling. And Bezos is exactly the same. His newspaper in the States has just pulled a cartoon, you can see where I'm coming from here, in which all the tech bros are seen worshipping at the shrine of Trump. And then the newspaper, oh, no, we can't publish this. It's repetitive, it's boring, we don't want to publish this. I mean, who do they think they're kidding? Yeah. We're in a sort of an era of total fatuity.
This is a real problem for everyone involved in journalism and involved in politics. You either suck up to Musk, or you're abused by Musk. Neither of these things are terribly attractive. He is already tweeting approvingly what Kemi Badenoch has been saying in the House of Commons a couple of hours ago, for instance. Yes, so this goes on and on.
Yes, I was very excited that he's supporting Kemi Badenoch.
Yeah, so, Elon's also doing this. He's also doing this in Europe, which is a problem.
His site to put out the real facts about what the budgets have looked like, doubling the size of the air fleet. Forest management budget increased 10 times. I understand it got a little wordy about the San Ynez Reservoir, but the truth is that reservoir was offline through February 2025, no matter what. This wasn't an unpreparedness thing. There was a tear in the cover that they had to repair. It's a normal maintenance thing. So yes, would it have been better if it had been filled? Sure, but that's not because of mismanagement. That's maintenance that has to happen.
But the maintenance didn't happen in time. I mean,
but it was always. But it's not behind schedule. Is the point? This isn't because they neglected it.
It's
there were
because
also
they
a number.
Didn't make time is of the essence in this contract.
Okay,
If they don't have that reservoir, that involved the Palisades.
I totally understand.
And so
it.
it's like saying we're not going to have cops where we know there's going to be a crime.
Well, you don't know that there's going to be a crime. This fire was predicted 5 days out, not months out when it went offline.
We've been hearing about.
Janine Pirro, man. Ugh, good Lord. I wonder if Joe took questions.
Is trying to dominate. Because that's who we are. That's who we are.
Okay, well, we don't have time to listen to that full speech just because we've only got 15 minutes until President Biden is supposed to address the fires, which I really want to watch. Let's listen to a clip here. This is Biden talking about how America's adversaries are weaker because of his policies.
And if you want more evidence that we've seriously weakened Iran and Russia, just take a look at Syria. President Assad was both countries' closest ally in the Middle East. Neither could keep him in power. Quite frankly, neither really tried very hard. Now, I cannot claim credit for every factor that led to Iran and Russia growing weaker in the past 4 years. They did plenty of damage all by themselves. But Israel did plenty of damage to Iran and its proxies. But there's no question, our actions contributed significantly. And now major authoritarian states are aligning more closely with one another. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea. But that's more out of weakness than out of strength. And if you want more evidence,
that speech is going to be awesome.
Iran and Russia.
I mean, that's one of those things that President Biden, you know, there is talk of could President Biden have won, even despite that insanely poor debate performance. But when that guy talks about our military, when he talks about this world and America's place in it, man, that guy shines. Man. So that, I mean, that's, you know, it's always one of those woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? Man. Yeah, now and again, because there's so many changing parts to the LA fires, there's so many, you know, rapid developments that we'll see how he does in this speech tonight, but yeah, that let's you know, and I am just going to watch as much of it as I can, just because, you know, I think that's pretty important. Let's see, maybe check out YouTube.
Good afternoon. If I didn't say anything, this would go on all afternoon, for good reason. Mr. President, it is an honor to welcome you back to the State Department. On day one of this administration, you shared a few things with me. You told me something that we long discussed, reminded me that American engagement, American leadership is essential. If we're not engaged, if we're not leading, you said, someone else is likely to be doing it, and probably not in a way that advances our interests or values. Or maybe no one's doing it, and then we're likely to have a vacuum filled with bad things before it's filled with good things. But the other thing you told me, Mr. President, was that there's a greater premium than ever before on finding ways to cooperate, to coordinate, to work with other countries if we're going to get done what we need to get done for the American people. And so you instructed me, you instructed all of us to get out there, to rebuild, to rejuvenate, even to reimagine our alliances and partnerships. And I remember what you told me then. You said, we don't know when this is going to make a difference, when we're going to need these friendships, these partnerships, but someday, some way, somewhere, they're going to be critical for advancing the national interest. And that's exactly what the men and women of this department have done. And we've been able to carry out that charge for two reasons. First, the people you see before you, and so many others who are out in the field at our embassies and consulates. You said when you came here 4 years ago that the leadership of diplomats of every stripe doing the daily work of government is essential, and they proved it. That daily work has become nightly work, 24/7, 7 days a week, hammering out agreements, jumping into action in crisis, creating opportunities for our citizens around the world, producing expert advice for you and your team at the White House. Everyone here knows this work can be tough. It's often not very glamorous, but it makes us stronger. It makes the world a better place. And we simply couldn't do it without the extraordinary men and women that you have before us, as well as our remarkable partners in government, starting with the great White House team led by Jake Sullivan, my friends and colleagues from across the administration, the Secretary of Defense, Samantha Power at USAID, the Secretary of the Treasury, Commerce, and so on. All of these partnerships that we built and built with their teams have made a difference. So to all of my colleagues, thank you. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your partnership. There's one other reason that we've been able to re-engage and rejuvenate our diplomacy. Mr. President, that's you. You have never wavered in the conviction that when America leads, when America engages, there is little we cannot accomplish, and that this country remains a force for good, a force for progress around the world. Your unshakable belief in the promise of America has inspired me for more than 20 years. It's inspired so many people in this department and around the world. Simply put, it's been the privilege of my lifetime to work for you, to work with you, to work with this extraordinary team that you've assembled. And it's the honor of a lifetime to be able to introduce, one more time, the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
The clapping is nearly taking down the mics in the room. Oh my.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Back at the State Department. Tony, if I may start by saying this.
Let's see if they get his mic back.
I've ever
There we
known
go.
in any undertaking, for one important reason. You have.
Jeez, guys. the audio team for the White House, they've already given up.
You have character.
They're already out.
You have more integrity than almost anybody I know. Thank you for always sticking with me. Appreciate it. Folks, I'm grateful for his counsel and his friendship as well, but I also want to thank the members of my cabinet and the members of the Congress who are here today, and to all our diplomats and development experts, service members, and intelligence professionals. Many of the achievements we're going to discuss today were the result of your hard work, and that's not hyperbole, it's true. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for your extraordinary service. You know, I come here to the State Department to report on to the American people on the progress we've made in the last 4 years in our foreign policy and our presidency. I've said many times, we're at an inflection point. The post-Cold War period is over. A new era has begun. In these 4 years, we faced crises that we've been tested. We've come through those tests stronger, in my view, than we entered those tests. This is a fierce competition underway. The future of the global economy, technology, human values, and so much else. Right now, in my view, thanks to our administration, the United States is winning the worldwide competition. Compared to 4 years ago, America is stronger. Our alliances are stronger. Our adversaries and competitors are weaker. We have not gone to war to make these things happen. During my presidency, I've increased America's power at every dimension. We've increased our diplomatic power, creating more allies than the United States has ever had in the history of our nation. We've increased our military power, making the most significant investments in the defense industrial base in decades. We've increased the technology power, taking the lead in artificial intelligence and other technologies of the future. And we've increased the economic power, building the most dynamic economy in the world from the bottom up and the middle out, not the top down. In short, Kamala and I took office, our nation had become stronger at home, are stronger in the world. And now, America is more capable and, I would argue, better prepared than we've been in a long, long time. While our competitors and adversaries are facing stiff headwinds, we have the wind at our back because of all of you. This is what we're heading into. And over the next administration, that's what we're handing it to. Today, I want to lay out what we've done, the opportunities we've created for America, and those opportunities going forward. Today, I can report to the American people our sources of national power are far stronger than they were when we took office. Our economy is booming, although there's more work to do. Our technologies, from artificial intelligence to biotech, quantum, and to advanced semiconductors, they're the envy of the world. And we have made the most significant investments in America and the American workers since the New Deal. To rebuild our roads and bridges, our ports and airports, clean water systems, affordable high-speed internet, and so much more. To build American manufacturing, to make advanced semiconductors, which we invented here at home. We made the largest investment in climate and clean energy ever anywhere on Earth in the history of the world, spurring nearly $500 billion in private sector investment. We've also significantly strengthened the defense industrial base, investing almost $1.3 trillion in procurement and research and development. In real dollars, that's more than America did in any 4-year period during the Cold War. This is going to ensure that we're fully equipped to fight and win wars, which is also the best way to deter wars in the first place. Today, I can report to the American people our alliances are stronger than they've been in decades. NATO is more capable than it's ever been, and many more of our allies are paying their fair share. Before I took office, 9 NATO allies were spending 2% of their GDP on defense. Now, 23 are spending 2%. And look at the Indo-Pacific. We've made partnerships stronger and created new partnerships to challenge China's aggressive behavior and to rebalance power in the region. We did it what few thought was possible, to build the first ever trilateral partnership between the United States, Japan, and South Korea. Then another among the United States, Japan, and the Philippines, drawing closer our Pacific allies to defend our shared security and prosperity. We brokered a defense pact known as AUKUS among the United States, Australia, and the United Kingdom, connecting the Atlantic and Pacific allies as only America is able to do. And we've taken the Quad to the next level. The United States, Japan, Australia, and India. When we had that first meeting, I was dumbfounded when they all called and said, "Can we do this at your house?" I think I'm kidding. My wife said, "No problem." It was during the UN meeting, and we thought we were going to do it in New York, but they wanted to do it in Delaware. I said, "Why?" He said, then people will know we're really friends. Our democracy, with vibrant economies, working closely, security, supply chains, technology, and so much more. In the Red Sea, we brought together more than 20 countries to protect civilian ships from attack by the Houthis, defending freedom of navigation in one of the world's busiest waterways. And we have strengthened partnerships all across the Americas, defending democracy, targeting corruption, addressing migration, increasing prosperity, and protecting Amazon rainforest, which captures billions of tons of carbon from the atmosphere every year. Overall, we've reinvigorated people's faith in the United States as a true partner. Today, I can report to the American people, our adversaries are weaker than were when we came into this job 4 years ago. Just consider Russia. When Putin invaded Ukraine, he thought he'd conquer Kyiv in a matter of days. But the truth is, since that war began, I'm the only one that stood in the center of Kyiv, not him. Putin never has. Think about it. It was a long train ride, but I'm the only commander-in-chief to visit a war zone not controlled by U.S. forces. We helped Ukrainians stop Putin. And now, nearly three years later, Putin has failed to achieve any of his strategic objectives. He has failed thus far to subjugate Ukraine, failed to break the unity of NATO, and failed to make large territorial gains. But there's more to do. We can't walk away. We rallied 50 nations to stand with Ukraine, not just in Europe, but for the first time in Asia as well. Because those countries in Asia know what happens in Ukraine matters to them as well. We delivered air interceptors, massive numbers of munitions, enacted relentless, unprecedented sanctions to keep Ukraine in the fight. And now Russia is struggling to replace what they are losing on the battlefield and in terms of military equipment and fighters. And the ruble is under enormous pressure. As I saw it, when Putin launched his invasion, I had two jobs. One, to rally the world to defend Ukraine, and the other is to avoid war between two nuclear powers. We did both those things. And today, Ukraine is still free, independent country with the potential for a bright future. And we laid the foundation for the next administration so they can protect the bright future of the Ukrainian people. And now, look at Iran. Did you ever think we'd be where we are with Iran at this moment? After those despicable attacks by Hamas on October the 7th, Iran directly attacked Israel twice with hundreds of ballistic missiles and drones. And twice they failed because the United States organized a coalition of countries to stop them and ordered U.S. aircraft to come to the defense of Israel. Now, Iran's air defenses are in shambles. Their main proxy, Hezbollah, is badly wounded. And as we tested Iran's willingness to revive the nuclear deal, We kept the pressure with sanctions. Now Iran's economy is in desperate straits. All told, Iran is weaker than it has been in decades. And if you want more evidence that we've seriously weakened Iran and Russia, just take a look at Syria. President Assad was both countries' closest ally in the Middle East. Neither could keep him in power. Quite frankly, neither really tried very hard. Now, I cannot claim credit for every factor that led to Iran and Russia growing weaker in the past 4 years. They did plenty of damage all by themselves. But Israel did plenty of damage to Iran and its proxies. But there's no question, our actions contributed significantly. And now major authoritarian states are aligning more closely with one another. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea. But that's more out of weakness than out of strength. So as the new administration begins, the United States is in a fundamentally stronger position with respect to these countries than we were 4 years ago. Today, I can report to the American people we're in a better strategic position in the long-term competition with China than we were when I took office. You all recall, many experts believe were predicting it was inevitable that China's economy would surpass ours. According to many predictions, that would happen by the year 2030 or shortly thereafter. But we in this room said no. If we make the investments in ourselves, if we protect our workers and technologies, that will not happen. Now, according to the latest predictions, on China's current course, they will never surpass us, period. I met one-on-one with President Xi in consequential summits. He and I have always been direct and straightforward with each other. I made it clear we expect China and everyone to abide by the international rules. And so we stood up against unfair trade practices, taking action when China dumps subsidized goods, incredibly subsidized, on our markets to undercut our workers. We imposed target tariffs in critical sectors like cars, steel, and semiconductors, rather than across-the-board tariffs. We imposed historic export controls on investments, restrictions, to ensure that China cannot use the most advanced technology and sensitive data against us. And critically, we enlisted our allies and partners to join us, building more convergence among our allies on a shared approach to China than ever existed, and showing that it's more effective to deal with China alongside of partners rather than going it alone. But even while we compete vigorously, we've managed our relationship with China responsibly, so it's never tipped over into conflict. We've created lines of communication between President Xi and myself, and between the leaders of our militaries, to avoid misunderstanding. We found ways to work with each other, to address climate change, to reduce the flow of fentanyl in the United States, which, by the way, overdose deaths are coming down across our nation. And in my administration, we've seized more fentanyl at our border.
Okay, real quick, I do just want to say that is really inspiring what Biden is saying there, talking about how we're building partnerships and continuing to push back against our adversaries, which has made them form tighter coalitions, but that's out of weakness and not strength. I will say, man, I mean, the world looks so dark right now with Trump ready to sit in the Oval Office again. But I will say that this is a long game, and if anything, backs me up. It's President Obama, Syria, and Bashar al-Assad. And Assad was bombing his people, gassing his people. It was one of the biggest stains on the Barack Obama administration. And when Trump took back power, it looked really bleak. And we responded, Biden responded, and Bashar al-Assad is gone, and Syria has been liberated. And so I think that is one of those things, we got to kind of keep looking for the light in this world that is about to be shrouded in darkness again, with Donald Trump, just incompetent and just the useful idiot for China and Russia and this coalition of weak states. It's important. It's important that we look at Syria and we see that this struggle is not over. It continues, and we have to continue to strengthen our country, and that's by resisting Donald Trump whenever he needs resisting, which in my estimation is going to be nearly every day, right? Also, I thought it was funny how President Biden's like, China's never going to surpass us, period. And I'm sitting there thinking like, yeah, period, because who knows what Donald Trump is going to do? Who knows how far he's going to set us back when it comes to that economic outlook? And then again, President Biden here talking about the partnerships, the importance, the critical importance, I think he called it, critical, that we approach China with partners, because that's what this is all about. It's about showing countries who are in China's reach, which is almost every country now, right? Because that's the way our world is flattened. It's about showing them that America is the most genuine and honest and faithful partner that they can have in this 21st century. So President Biden here is absolutely crushing it. We'll continue this. I know he was kind of dipping his toes now into fentanyl and probably the border, which is probably what we're going to get into. I think he heard he began to speak on that. I'm going to be paying close attention to the White House's stream. He's supposed to be talking at 10 minutes ago, so I'll jump over to him giving updates on the wildfires when he goes live.
2 years than the previous 5 years combined. Today, I can also report to the American people, we're the first president in decades who's not leaving a war in Afghanistan to his successor. But we've got bin Laden during the Obama-Biden administration, the primary objective of war had been accomplished. And I believe that going forward, the primary threat of al-Qaeda would no longer be emanating from Afghanistan, but from elsewhere. And so, we not need to station a sizable number of American forces in Afghanistan. So when I took office, I had a choice. Ultimately, I saw no reason to keep thousands of servicemen in Afghanistan. I think I have my schedule with me, and I keep on I don't here. I don't have, but I keep on the back of my card the actual number of dead and wounded that occurred in our longest war to remind myself. Keep spending hundreds of millions of dollars a day. We're no longer doing that. In my view, it was time to end the war and bring our troops home, and we did. I commend the courage of all those who served in Afghanistan. We grieve all 2,461 Americans who made the ultimate sacrifice in the longest war in American history. And I grieve those brave service members whose lives were lost during the withdrawal. We also thank those inside and outside of government who have done so much to help thousands of Afghan families resettle in the United States. Remember, critics said if we ended the war, it would damage our alliances and create threats to our homeland from foreign directed terrorism out of a safe haven in Afghanistan. Neither has occurred. Neither has occurred. And our alliances have stayed strong. We've used our over-the-horizon capabilities to strike in Afghanistan and elsewhere when we had to. For instance, eliminating Zawahiri, the leader of al-Qaeda, who helped orchestrate the September 11th attacks. And we did it without putting more American boots on the ground. And by ending the war, we've been able to focus our energy and resources on more urgent challenges. There is nothing and I can tell you from my conversations with both Xi and Putin, nothing our adversaries and competitors like Russia and China would have liked more than seeing us to continue to be tied down in Afghanistan for another decade. For all those reasons, ending the war was the right thing to do, and I believe history will reflect that. And from the moment I entered office, I also worked to free as many Americans as possible being held hostage or wrongfully detained overseas. We brought home more than 75 Americans by last count. In some cases, it took months, even years of effort, like the prisoner swap with Russia over the past summer. A feat of diplomacy involving many of you and involving multiple countries who joined complex negotiations at our request. Another example of the power of our alliances. We did not have these relationships, those women and women would likely still be in prison. And finally, I can report to the American people that we restored our leadership in a range of other generational priorities. When I took office, we were no longer part of the International Climate Agreement. We announced on day one that we would join the Paris Accord, rejoin. And we've led by example. We've conserved hundreds of millions of acres of land and water, more than any president in American history, making investments in clean energy and convincing other nations to join us. Thanks to our efforts, the world has reached the goal of investing $100 billion every year in public and private funds to reduce greenhouse emissions, to drive down the cost of clean energy, to help developing nations adapt to climate change. Our administration has launched a transformative initiative to build high-impact infrastructure in developing nations. It's called PGI. You all know that better than anyone. This is our alternative to what China offers with its massive projects across Africa and beyond. But their approach features no workers' rights, no environmental protections, unmanageable debt, shoddy construction, all in exchange for military access to ports and other exploitative purposes. By contrast, we've leveraged $600 billion and unleashed the private sector to build an infrastructure in order to grow economies and combat climate change. As an example, I was recently in Angola to see a major project being built with the help of American public funding, which brought in even more private investment. We're building the first ever transcontinental railroad across Africa. It will significantly improve the economies of the region, will help farmers transport crops in new global markets, will transport critical minerals that are needed for electric vehicles and semiconductors. China used to control the supply chains in these materials, but not for long. Now, make no mistake, there are serious challenges the United States must continue to deal with in Ukraine, in the Middle East, in the Indo-Pacific. Must keep the pressure on the Houthis, who are attacking ships in the Red Sea, launching missiles at Israel, and firing at American forces. Must deter North Korea as they rattle their saber and draw closer to Russia. And new challenges will certainly emerge in the months and years ahead. But even so, it's clear my administration is leaving the next administration with a very strong hand to play. And we're leaving them in America with more friends and stronger alliances, whose adversaries are weaker and under pressure. An America that once again is leading, uniting countries, setting the agenda, bringing others together behind our plans and visions. An America which is no longer at war, which has made historic investments in American workers, American energies, American factories, generating the strongest economy in the world, which is now in a much better position to win the future against any competitor. These wins are not partisan. They're American. They benefit all Americans and reflect America's endless capacity for leadership and reinvention. Look, folks, the United States should take full advantage of our diplomatic and geopolitical opportunities we've created to keep bringing countries together to deal with challenges posed by China, to make sure Putin's war ends in a just and lasting peace for Ukraine, and to capitalize on a new moment for a more stable, integrated Middle East. To do that, the next administration must make sure the fall of Assad does not lead to the resurgence of ISIS in Syria and across the region. It must carry forward the commitment that America will never, never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon. And on the war between Israel and Hamas, we're on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago, finally coming to fruition. I have learned in many years of public service to never, 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 ever give up. So I spoke to Prime Minister of Israel yesterday. I spoke to Emir of Qatar today. I look forward to speaking with President Sisi soon. We're pressing hard to close this. The deal we have structured would free the hostages, halt the fighting, provide security to Israel, and allow us to significantly surge humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians who've suffered terribly in this war that Hamas started. They've been through hell. So many innocent people have been killed. So many communities have been destroyed. The Palestinian people deserve peace and the right to determine their own futures. Israel deserves peace and real security, and the hostages and their families deserve to be reunited. And so we're working urgently to close this deal. And as we deal with immediate challenges, in my view, we have to look to the future. I urge the next administration to carry forward two issues that have been central to my presidency and which shape the future, in my view. On artificial intelligence, we are in the lead, and we must stay in the lead. We must not offshore artificial intelligence, as we once did with computer chips and other critical technologies. AI has the power to reshape economies, governments, national security, entire societies. And it must be the United States and our closest allies that lead the way to ensure people's rights are respected, their safety is protected, and their data is secure. And likewise, clean energy transition will race ahead in the years to come. I know in some incoming administration, some in the incoming administration, are skeptical about the need for clean energy. They don't even believe climate change is real. I think they come from a different century. They're wrong. They are dead wrong. It's the single greatest existential threat to humanity. And the clean energy transition is already happening. China is trying to dominate the clean energy, manufacturing, critical materials, supply chains. They want to capture the market of the future and create new dependencies. The United States must win that contest, and we will shape the global economy and the planet for decades to come. Let me close with this. Like many of you, I've dedicated a significant portion of my career to our nation's foreign policy. As chair of the Foreign Relations Committee as a senator, vice president for 8 years, and now president of the United States, I put together one of the most competent foreign policy teams, I would argue, in American history, sitting in this room and before my eyes. Throughout my career, the world has undergone tremendous change. But certain things have always held true. At our best, America leads not only by the example of our power, but the power of our example. In the past 4 years, we've used that power, not to go it alone, but instead to bring countries together, to increase shared security and prosperity, to stand up to aggression, and to solve problems through diplomacy wherever possible, and to relentlessly defend democracy, civil rights, and human rights. Because that's who we are. That's who we are. You've heard me say it many times before. We're the only country on earth founded on idea. Every other country is founded on geography, religion, ethnicity, or some other unifying factor. But America was built on an idea, literally, not figuratively. That idea was all women and men are created equal. The idea that has inspired the world for 250 years and counting. We're always reaching to do better, always looking to the future, not our best, always seeking progress for our people and for people everywhere. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. Today, I'm optimistic about our future, as optimistic as I've ever been. Just have to remember who in the hell we are. You've heard me say it many times. We're the United States of America, for God's sake. There is nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together and commit to it. Nothing. So thank you all for all you've done. I hope many of you are going to be staying in the next administration to keep this moving. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Out of my heart. Thank you.
God love him. That's Joe's favorite line. God love you. Oh, boy. We're going to miss you. Okay. Well, apparently the event in which Biden was supposed to speak on the LA wildfires is not happening. C-SPAN has taken that off of their... here it is right here. Right? Sorry, can you guys see that? President Biden holds briefing on California wildfires. This page hasn't been refreshed in probably an hour. So I was on another... that's gone. It says the House is in session. The Senate's in session. They were discussing a Lincoln-Riley Act. That's incredibly controversial, being as though the Republicans were trying to slip in some immigration tactics there. Let's see if anybody's speaking on it. Senator Markey might have some interesting things to say about it. Let's go back to him and see if let's see if they're even discussing the bill. Where did Markey go? Okay, Durbin. Let's see here. Let's see what he's talking about here. Come on. Where are you? Come on, Senator.
1,000 comments and counting. That's tens of thousands of users reaching out to make their voices heard. Online communities they have cultivated. Supporters of the law have often dismissed TikTok as trivial, characterizing it as a platform dominated.
Okay, he's talking about the TikTok ban. Let's see what Senator Markey has to say about that. Actually, okay, I'm bored. Sorry, we're not doing the Senate. That's just gonna. All right, let's check into the House of Reps, see what's going on. Okay, they're on break until 6:30, so that's another hour my time. Cool. Oh no, half an hour. Okay, I'm a little lost. All right, let's check back in on the wildfires and see what if anything is going on here. If we have any new developments here. I'm nervous to click on the latest tab. A lot of this is just, especially on Twitter, it's just they're just throwing around conspiracy theories, trying to slam Democrats. Yeah, it's just all just Newsom, Newsom, Newsom. They're all just attacking Newsom. It's just ridiculous. All these people who have no idea what they're talking about. They're simply clueless. Oh man, I'm like, yeah. I'm gonna take a quick break and set up. I need to set up my microphone. For here. it looks like, oh, okay, great. Audio's back on.